I'd like to see peace.
Do you trust President Putin?
I believe that, I believe that he would like to see something happen. I trust him on this subject. I think he'd like to see something happen. I think it could have happened a long time ago. I think Biden, number one, it shouldn't have started, but it did. And now all those cities are knocked down like demolition sites. All those beautiful golden towers are knocked down. There's nothing going to replace them. But much more importantly, you lost millions of people. A lot of soldiers, but you lost millions of people. When they knocked down those cities and they're all laying down on the side, they're laying down just in ashes and all crumbled up concrete. They literally look like a world-class demolition site. And many of them, almost all of them, but many of them, and this should have been done by Biden years ago. This should have never been allowed to happen. I know he's a friend of yours.
But couldn't Putin just withdraw his...
He's a friend of CNN. That's why nobody watches CNN anymore, because they have no credibility. Okay, who else? Yes, please.
Why, it's journalist extraordinaire Brian Karem.
Hey, Brian!
I have loved you since the first moment Donald Trump hated you. I know. I saw you at DC Sexy Liberal, and I was in your documentary. It was so exciting to see you again.
Oh, it's great to see you again, Steph. And thanks for the compliments, and I can't wait till you see the documentary.
Well, first of all, you were saying you have to update almost hourly because this is just beyond comprehension, what we've experienced in 3 weeks, isn't it?
Well, yeah, when you watch a freight train running down the hill, it just changes every damn second. So you got to be ready for anything that's going to happen at any moment.
Right.
Brian, I was saying earlier in the show, I so thought of you watching this press conference yesterday. I feel like I've woken up in North Korea some days. I don't know. They've let in all of these right-wing Trump sycophant outlets. Then the question, what was the question to the foreign leader? Do you think Donald Trump is the greatest president ever, or just maybe of the United States, or is he? I mean, I'm like, that's a question?
Well, that's been in they've only had 4 briefings. He claims that he's available for questions all the time. He's not, and he keeps people out. The way it's working now, your White House press pass means nothing. You get into the compound, but you're not going to see him unless you're in the pool, and you're not going to be in the briefing and called on unless you're one of those in the front row or one that she likes. And yeah, you're right. There are a lot of reporters that are in that room going, "Gosh, before I ask you a question, you mind if I kiss your buttocks for a few minutes and then tell you what a great guy Donnie is, and then I'll ask you a question that means nothing, says little, and we'll go on with our pep rally."
Yeah.
The press secretary is merely a pep rally cheerleader. Donald Trump is at extended rallies whenever he attends the press, and he's been in front of the open press only twice, I think, and that was as he was leaving the White House for chopper talk, and he doesn't even do those like he used to.
Yeah. Right.
So they are limiting, they're pretending, again, Donald Trump pretends one thing and does another.
And I saved this tweet for you of Larry Daniels, who, this is a point I keep making, Brian. When Chris Sununu or Joe Scarborough says Trump is answering questions unlike Biden, Lawrence O'Donnell said it best. When the responses to questions at a press conference are lies, they're lies. They're not answers. So Trump never answers questions. He lies. I mean, Elon Musk had to admit he's like, oh, yeah, I was wrong about the $50 million of condoms in Gaza. You weren't wrong. You lied, and you know you lied, and you doubled and tripled down on it, right?
Yeah, well, that's Donald Trump's modus operandi, and that's, of course, Elon Musk, his co-president, his shadow conspirator in the White House. Donald Trump doesn't know how to tell the truth because it doesn't serve his purposes. If it did, he would. But the bottom line is Donald Trump is all about getting whatever he can for Donald Trump. He's a bully. So he's not going to tell you the truth. And that's one thing that we did a little bit better during his first administration. There was me, Jim Acosta, the AP, Reuters, April Ryan, and I can name, 6 or 7 of us who on a daily basis would pound back against him. Now notice, none of us are there for this administration. I still have my White House press pass, but I'll be damned if they're going to let me anywhere near him. They simply don't want it because my first question, I got to tell you, my first question is when I step up, if he's going to ask it, I'm just going to ask him point blank, why won't you tell the truth to the American people and let the chips fall where they may?
Yeah. I mean, you pointed out in your piece in Salon, Brian, it was announced Musk had a tentative agreement to sell $400 million in armored trucks to the government. No one asked about that. He's
Yeah.
supposed to be rooting out government waste. And I mean, this meme
And
going around, while Elon Musk, the wealthiest man alive, is illegally denying food for the poorest children on Earth, SpaceX just received another $38 million supplemental federal contract the other day, paid for by your taxes. Elon loves corporate welfare for himself and rugged individualism for the poor. I mean,
Yeah.
no one asked about that, as you say.
Well, all right, look, Caitlin Collins pushed back. The AP got pushed out because they won't refer to it as the Gulf of America. She asked about that. I mean, why would you? And so she asked about that, and no one followed up.
Right.
Yep.
We are getting eaten alive, and there was one voice, and that should have been ultimately every reporter in that room should have doubled down and pinned the cheerleader to the wall.
Yeah.
And I can't even refer to that young lady as a press secretary. She is merely a Christian pep star. That's it. She's a cheerleader.
Yeah.
That's all she is.
Yeah, solidarity, Brian. You're absolutely right. You know, we hang together or we'll hang separately. I mean, I just love the people on, Twitter that are resisting more than the reporters in the room. John Scalzi said, I personally will continue to use Gulf of Mexico because our president is a wrathful, felonious nincompoop with the intellect of a paramecium, and I do not consent to this cartographic buffoonery.
I'm sorry, but I find that an insult to paramecium.
I mean, we were saying, Joe Walsh, for instance, our former congressman friend, said, what can you do? Don't give up hope. Dictators feed off your hopelessness. Don't quit. Dictators want you to give up. Punch back. Dictators are bullies. Bullies are cowards. Stay tethered to the truth. Dictators need you to believe their lies. Resist. Stand with others. And I find myself so wishing you were in that room every day, Brian. Because
Once I get done with this this documentary, documenting what a shit show he's
go! Can't say that. Can't say that.
this garbage scow that he's creating.
Right.
Yes. Let's
Sorry
go with
about that.
That's all right.
then I'll be back. But I doubt that you'll hear any more from me than the question. As I told every press secretary, I don't care if I get a question in or not. I'll go back and ask you. But if there's something in that room that's left unasked before you get off the stage, I will ask it, because that goes back to the way I was raised. And my mentors, Sam Donaldson and Helen Thomas. Yeah. And Helen said, Brian, it doesn't matter if the question is answered. It doesn't matter what the answer is. You have to ask the question and get it on the record. Yeah. So that's, if there's something that needs to be on the record, I'm going to ask it. And so Karem, Jean-Pierre, when I was in that room, she always called on me because she knew that at the end of the day, if she didn't, she was going to get it going out the door. And most of the other press secretaries understand that. But I doubt that the cheerleader will, but that's not my problem. My problem is to get out the question. And by God, that's what you have to do. That's your job. The idea, she was in the briefing room the other day, Stephanie, saying it's a privilege to be in that room with the president. No, it's a privilege for the president to be in that room. He's there by the grace of 77 million voters. I'm there to do my job, which, by the way, isn't, it's not privilege. It's written into the Constitution. Yeah. So answer the question.
Yeah. And they're counting on journalism being dead. This one, the State Department's the State Department's procurement forecast detailing a $400 million order for armored Teslas has now been edited to say armored electric vehicles. The document shows the edit was made at 9:12 p.m. after it was highlighted in reports. So it's this is the thing. Like, they think we can't see this theft in plain view, right? That Elon Musk is doing.
Well, what they're counting on is look, Michael Cohen said it best. He goes, Brian, what if by some chance he is successful in some of what he does? Then he will have subverted the Constitution. And Trumpism will no longer be a cult. It will be ingrained and will be the mainstream. And the Constitution will be dead. So at the end of the day, they're playing the long game, hoping that they have enough of success, or they will simply claim a success. It doesn't matter. Yeah, they create the fire. They create the fire, and then they say they put it out. And that is the biggest example of that is, there are 20 million illegal immigrants in the United States. No, there isn't. There's maybe half that. So he's not, our friend John Fugelsang said, Brian, I don't think he's going to get rid of 10 million. I don't think it's 5 million, a million, or 500,000. But at the end of his 100 days, he's going to claim that America is a safer place because of what he did. There was no problem. It didn't exist. He claims victory over it.
Yeah.
So what they're hoping for is that they can rewrite reality, creating an environment in which they can continue to flourish while we suffer.
Yeah, I mean, you saw his tweet, Biden inflation up. I mean, blames Biden for the plane crash. 6 plane crashes in 3 weeks.
I'm a pilot, okay? The most offensive thing that he said to me, well, in the last week.
45 minutes.
Yeah, the last 45 seconds. But what he did when he talked about the plane crash in D.C. and said it was a DEI hire, he's an idiot.
Yeah.
You don't get, if you're blind, deaf, and dumb, you don't get the job as an air traffic controller. You have to actually do it.
Yeah.
The problem I have with the Democrats responding to this is they've allowed the Republicans to frame the argument. When he came out and said, hey, we want people that are best qualified to get the jobs, it's a meritocracy. Somebody should have said, yeah, that's what DEI is, you idiot. That's exactly what it is. Regardless of color or gender or anything.
But then this is how the news cycle goes. Now he's already said, I don't know if Mitch McConnell really had polio.
Yeah. And I know Mitch McConnell since 1978. I've never liked the guy.
No.
But he did have polio.
Oh, my God. But, you know, this is, when speaking of Biden, you know, Brian, this is what drives me insane, is that, you know, this disinformation ecosystem that has brought us to where we are today.
Yes.
I mean, you know, has Biden at the lowest approval ratings, whatever. They have taken a historically, provably successful president and cast it as, you know, like Trump was talking about we're 40th in education. Good job, Joe. Like, I mean, he's just going to blame everything on Joe Biden. And the press goes with it and shows up in polling, and here we are.
That was one of the questions I wanted to ask in the briefing room the other day. At what point in time does Donald Trump take any responsibility for the economy?
Thank you.
And he won't. He said before, I take no responsibility. And I think history will be far kinder to Biden than we are currently. But I also wish that the Democrats were better at messaging, because they have the better message. They've just not been very successful at doing it. Donald Trump will beat you over the head with something that isn't even true. I mean, for example, the infrastructure bill. That $1 trillion infrastructure bill, Donald Trump has people believing that it bought 6 EV charging stations in California, and that's it. Meanwhile, from coast to coast, during the campaign, I drove it. Man, there wasn't not a state in this country, and a lot of them red states, that had the most construction. That kept our economy sound. And that $1 trillion investment, and I remind everyone that Donald Trump, and I was in that briefing room every day during his first, administration, promised us every week it was infrastructure week, and guess what? He lied. Biden delivered on it, and I said, hey, why aren't you guys campaigning? Well, we mentioned it once. Well, you pull a Donald Trump, beat us over the head with it, because people don't get it until you do that.
Yeah. I mean, the other point you make, we've been talking about this too. You said, unfortunately, his dominance in our lives extends beyond politics. I was saying that yesterday. Right? He's ruined everything in American life. The Super Bowl, Kennedy Center. He's just never shuts up. Like you said, Trump's appetite is insatiable. He's not satisfied with politics. He's not satisfied with art. He wants to determine how we play sports. Well, at the Super Bowl, he's bitching about the kickoff rules. And you said the more he grasps, the more he wants. He wants to take over Gaza. He wants Greenland. He wants Canada. He wants Mexico, the Panama Canal. I mean, it is hard. He's a madman, Brian. Not enough people are saying it.
Yeah, he's a dictator. This is classic dictatorship. What president deserves the right to tell me what art is?
Right.
No. Or what religion? No. You are a hired employee. You've got a 4-year contract to deliver to the people of the United States. Don't dictate to me what art is. I don't care what you think art is. I've seen Mar-a-Lago. I've seen what you think art is, and it's too daggone garish for the rest. Notice I said daggone. It's too daggone.
Thank you.
Bella
thanks you.
Thank you.
I'm trying to clean up here for you, I'm telling you.
You just did a Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah.
Bob Seska told us what a great impressionist you are. That was.
I'm telling you, tough room, and I was an ugly child too, That's it.
Yeah,
it's tough to listen to him.
Yeah.
But you sum it up so well, Brian. You say the Democrats who didn't vote, those who voted for Trump, the independents who did the same, have all put us in the same boat heading down a class 5 rapids before we tumble over a deep waterfall. We have no oars to steer, no one who knows how, and millions of voters still think it's a cheap thrill ride at a water park. That's the thing.
Yeah.
There's obviously a segment still cheering this on, like, yep,
Oh,
chaos, burn it all down, right?
And when you talk to those people, it's hilarious to listen to them go, you're just crying because you're not getting your way. I go, well, when are you going to take the blinders off for just a second?
Did you see, Brian, hang on, I wasn't going to, since you brought this up, I don't know if you saw this interview with these 3 farmers. Literally, the quote was, he was supposed to hurt other people, not us. I mean, I guess, like, because they asked him, would you vote for Trump again? They said no. So I guess that's the good news for us. But the bad news is this is like, their intent was to hurt us. So it's hard to just go, like, okay, we're going to get them back because they realize that Trump's hurting them. But, how do you forgive people that voted for other people's pain, right?
Oh, Stephanie, I was interviewing a Christian, and I quoted Jesus to the Sermon on them. I'm not as good as John on Fugelsang on this, but I will say it was Matthew 25:40 about how you treat the least of us. That's how you treat me. And I read the passage, and they go, "We don't care about that woke stuff."
Oh my God.
I said stuff. I didn't say what
Yeah,
they
I know.
actually.
I hear you.
Thank you.
I'm cleaning up, baby. I'm cleaning up. So I said, hey. They go, don't preach that woke stuff to me. I go, that's literally, you call yourself a Christian. Do you follow the teachings of Jesus? And they say, absolutely. And I said, you realize these are the words that Jesus spoke. This is a reporter on the scene at the Sermon on the Mount quoting Jesus. And this is what Jesus actually said. And they go, no, that's woke stuff. I don't believe that.
Yeah, no, deport that hippie. By the way, you end on such a happy clappy note here, Brian. You said the only hope at this point is the asteroid, which increasingly looks like it will strike Earth in a few years. But hey, most of the rich politicians, celebrities, and sports heroes have bunkers, so at least they'll survive. Wow, that was a really hopeful thought to end on. We're praying for the asteroid at this point. All right. Brian, what other impressions do you do? Let's leave with another Brian Karem impression.
I don't know. Well, Mary, a wonderful old savings and loan.
Except that we're in the version where MAGA thinks like Mr. Potter's the hero in that story, and George
you're great.
George Bailey's a loser. That was good. The documentary is the first 100 days of Trump.
Yes.
Hooray! Hooray!
Yes, and it'll be out in July. You said
July 4th.
Okay.
Let's make this a thing. Let's make this a more regular thing, Brian Karem.
Would love that.
All right.
Anytime you want, I'm here for you. You know that.
All right.
Love
Follow him on socials. Read him on Salon. We
Yes.
love you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
you guys.
Oh, hey there, it's Stephanie Miller. If you're like me and you love sharp political insight, pointy, you like it pointy and sharp, bold opinions, and a touch of humor to make sense of these crazy times, have I got some fantastic news for you. The Political Voices Network is now on Substack. This is your new go-to for the best in independent media. We're talking about my show streaming daily with episodes on demand, the fearless of journalism of Brian Karem, the brilliant side-splitting satire of John Fugelsang, the unrelenting working class advocacy of Rick Smith, and so much more. Here's the best part. Subscribing is so easy. You can join for free or go to the extra mile. Support these incredible independent voices by signing up for a full subscription starting at just $8. You'll get access to exclusive content, behind-the-scenes insights, and a chance to directly fuel fearless, unfiltered media. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to politicalvoicesnetwork.com. Hit that subscribe button and become part of the movement keeping truth alive in an era of corporate media overload. Every subscription helps, especially yours. One more time, that is politicalvoicesnetwork.com. Sign up now. Do it.